Hi, and welcome to another Ninth Age Battle Report from the Warlock's Tower. This is a report again against my friend James and his Lizardmen army, and this time I'm using my Warriors of the Dark Gods. This is pretty much an 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle army models transferred straight across, using them obviously for different roles. One demon unit using as my Slaneshi Chaos Spawn, as it would be. So here's the setup from my perspective. Out of my right, I've got some Barbarian Horsemen. I've got a unit of 19 warriors with the Mark of Change. In there is a Monstrous Beast BSB. He has a 2-up armor save and a 4-up regen. The unit has the -1 to hit banner in there, which doesn't really come into much in this game for obvious reasons, but it's there to kind of protect the BSB from getting shot. Now, this was me reading the rules as the shooting player allocates wounds, so to mitigate cannons to some extent, when there's rules of different models of different type together. But I'll talk about that a little bit more. Next to that is a unit of Great Weapon Barbarians. This is basically to fill out my Cortex. I didn't think they'd be a great unit. I basically thought most things that you want to use a Great Weapon again are going to destroy most of the unit before you get swing, and therefore you're going to get broken pretty easily. They almost, to me, appear to be a slow glass cannon, but I thought I'd try them out. I've got the models, give them a go. Next to that is a unit of Fallen. These to me seem to be great. Light infantry rule, 6-inch move, D3 +1 attacks because of the frenzy. So yeah, they seem to be a pretty good unit, and I was really keen to see how they go because they do fill out your Cortex. So yeah, that could be a great thing to use. After that, we've got a Hell Screaming Cannon up on the hill. Again, I wasn't massively keen on this unit. The way the to-hit roll works, I just thought it was going to miss a lot. But again, I had the model. I really like the Chaos Dwarf. It's a Magma Cannon Chaos Dwarf model, but yeah, and I used Hell Cannons quite a lot previously, combining them with magic, which this army doesn't have any magic, but yeah, I thought I'd see how it went. Next to that is a unit of Barbarian Horsemen. Slightly behind and to the left is a Demon Prince. He has the Mark of Wrath. He has a 2-up armor save, comes with his 5-up board, obviously, and then he's got a sword of +1 strength, so strength 7 base, strength 8 on the charge with Mark of Wrath, or Demon of Wrath, I should say. So yeah, he's pretty choppy. Pretty keen to see how he gets on. And then next to that, in the front right corner of the unit of trolls is a model I'm using to represent a Wrath Priest. Now, he has the Chaos Gift, which makes him monstrous infantry. Now, a friend of mine, the legendary in New Zealand at least, Kelly Gragg, used to run this special Skylar Amphangrim character in Trolls, and this seemed like a crazy idea, and then you look at it and you go, well, Trolls are survivable because of their regen, and he comes with monstrous infantry as base and MR2, so he gives them protection from those fireballs and such, which strip off ranks off Trolls quite quickly, so he works really well in theory in with those Trolls. He's got a flail, he's got a Dragon Mantle to give him a 2-up armor save. So yeah, in theory a pretty survivable guy. He also works really well with the army because he dispels with like a wizard master. So pretty good anti-magic, even though I don't have any magic. And then outside that is a Chimera. So yeah, he's pretty awesome model, but that low leadership means he's got to hang around with his Demon Prince mate, who's the general of the army, or the BSB, but yeah, 5 on a reroll, not so good anyway. So yeah, that's my setup. James has gone for a pretty stompy monster list, so He's got, in the woods there, he's got some normal skirmishing poison skinks. He's got his general on the purple Carnosaur. He's got a 1-up. He's got an item which lets him cast a spell which gives him a wound and 5-up regen. In front of that is some Blowpipe Chameleon Skink scouting forward, apparently being themey and hanging out in a swamp. Then there's a ranked up unit of Skink Cohort, again with poison shooting, another unit of Skink Cohort, and then on the other side of that is a Stegodon. It's got sharpened horns, which is pretty useful in this because he is putting D3 wounds onto his impact hits. Oh, and that Carnosaur previously, the purple Carnosaur, is a alpha Carnosaur, so again he's doing D3 wounds. So me flying around with the Demon Prince and having a reasonable amount of points tied up in multi-wound monsters, pretty scary. He's then got the Bastillodon as was, pretty tough, has a hit which is essentially a cannonball, so okay, he's low weapon skill, but strength 10, D3 wound hit is potentially nasty, and he's got bounce full of fireballs, so yeah, lining up against trolls, I can see what's coming in there. Behind that is a unit of Saurian warriors. To the left, as I'm looking at it, Bastillodon is a unit of Cold One cavalry, pretty much basic, no magic standard, no characters in there. Behind that is a ranked up unit of Skink Cohort with a Skink Priest who has the same spell with the 5-up regen. He's okay, but I'm not a big fan of magic in 9th Age, so we'll see how that goes. And then to the left of that is his BSB on the smaller version of the Carnosaur, still pretty choppy. Strength 6, Strength 7. So it kicks out a heap of attacks, and then on top, both the General and the BSB have great weapons. So again, pretty high strength, multiple attacks. So yeah, pretty choppy all round. And he's obviously, with his camo skinks and his skinks with their low leadership, he's got a big bubble, towering presence, 18-inch BSB and General. So it's a pretty nice army. Oh, and there's another unit of poison skirmishing skinks out on the left. Now the secondary objective for the battle is hold the centre of the board with the scoring units. So hence there being quite a lot of skink cohorts and my warriors and my barbarians on foot lining up against that. So yeah, I get the first turn. I only had +1. Neither of us really dropped a heap of models. I was quite keen to keep my Demon Prince away from the multi-wound stuff. So I had to deploy first, and I took my time about it. Both of us had a lot of drops. So yeah, me with my mounted barbarians and my Forsaken, the light troops, yeah, they make up quite a decent amount of drops. So yeah, it was kind of quite a slow deployment. Both of us thinking quite a lot about where we wanted to go. I was reasonably happy with the deployment. As I say, I wasn't massively keen on the barbarians on foot, and they're the main unit I've got to try and hold that objective. Basically, I'm scared to death of his general. That thing is going to rip through any unit it gets hold of, whether he thunderstomps or whether he multi-wounds. It means it's going through infantry or monsters pretty fast. So yeah, I was kind of nervous of that guy. Didn't really have a great plan on how to deal with him. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out though. So yeah, my turn first. I basically push forward in the middle, bring some, look after my mounted horseman. I know I want to redirect his monster, but I don't want to sell them too early, and they'll go down pretty fast to the poison shooting. Even with a 4-up save, they're going to die quite quickly to any camo skinks that get near him. And yeah, given that no longer can make them immune to panic, they're pretty prone to getting out of the way fast. So yeah, I'm pretty cautious with my mounted barbarians. But otherwise, I push forward. I'm pretty keen to get my light troops into his skinks with high movement. they're going to start pushing them away quite fast. And always playing Lizardmen or Saurian Ancients, I just try and declare a lot of charges that I just know are going to be fled from, and just trying to push the skinks away, trying to keep them at the back of the board, while trying to mitigate the fact that my failed charges don't put me in too stupid a position. So that's really the plan. And then on the left, push all my trolls, go and stand behind the fence for a little bit of extra protection. And then the Chimera and the Demon Prince fly forward. James kind of counts that by pushing forward with his monsters, pushing forward with his skinks. Basically, the magic phase would pan out that I'd chuck all my dice at stopping the fireball, and then I'd let him get his regen off on his general. And the only thing that I was going to potentially harm him with is the Hellscream Cannon, but that had so many targets that were pretty viable. I knew there was a reasonable amount of points in the skink cohorts at the back, so the plan on the left was trying to get rid of the cold ones, or whittle them down, allow me to go in, overrun, and get into the squishy units at the back. The Sharpened Horn Steg scares the trolls quite a lot, so I was kind of, it's a bit of a Mexican standoff between the trolls. If the trolls charge the Steg, it's all over. He doesn't get his impact hits, he doesn't get his multi-wounds, and I vomit on him until he's dead. If the Steg charges and rolls well on his impact hits, it's going to be all over pretty quickly unless I fluke some regen saves for the troll. So yeah, it's an interesting Mexican standoff there, but someone's got to go in at some point. On from that, James pushes forward with his skinks. Again, my high toughness of my Chimera isn't going to save me for long. So yeah, that's an interesting little standoff there as well. So yeah, we can see the lay of land here, that the skinks are pushing forward, the stomping monster's kind of flanking them to keep them, keep me off them really. So James is trying to allow his poison shooting to be effective while still keeping me at arm's length using his stomping monsters. I declared multiple charges, so I was pretty sure my barbarians would fail charge, so I charged into them with this, charged the skinks with them, they fled through. Obviously it's leadership 8 because of the big bubble from the stomping monster, so the skinks passed their panic tests, and then there's no reroll, so it's potential to fail a leadership 8 cold-blooded test, so but he passes those, but push the skirmishing skinks to the back of the board edge. I know they're facing them towards me, but they are fleeing, and then I charge. I've got a reasonably long redirect charge into the cohort skinks. Obviously, he can't flee because he's going to bounce off the back of the board with almost any roll, actually. So he holds, I think it was like a 9 on the dice, and they're slightly depleted from some shooting. Of course, they can go into the cohort skinks. Now, we had an interesting discussion now, and looked up, being used to Games Workshop rules, which are always famously a little bit wishy-washy written. We're like, how does it work with parry? Because the skink cohort has shields and hand weapons in combat, and the fence with its giving them distracting in the first round of combat. And so it's really clear in 9th age that you apply one modifier after the next. So it does stack that it's basically 5s to hit. So my weapon skill 5 really comes into it here. I mean, weapon skill 5 versus weapon skill 3, and I'm hitting on 5. So that's great. You put your shield and hand weapon guys behind a fence, and you know that makes you pretty survivable. The other vitally important part of the game was a young kid came in from James's next door. He must have been 6 for some of this lad, Alfie, and he rolled my dice for all the poison shooting into the Forsaken, and I lost 2 models where I should have probably lost 4. So Alfie obviously is the star of the game, so I thought I'd mention him, and I will email him the YouTube video, and he can be excited about being on the internet. But yeah, that was pretty chuffed with that charge. I knew I wasn't going to smash them first round, but that's a pretty good grind out. If he puts in the Stomping Monster, I'm happy. Oh, I think I made a mistake on the deployment. That's Saurus, not Skinks, ranked up on my right of my Forsaken. So on the other flank, well, I took the bait with the Chimera. It was obvious I was going to smash with Skinks pretty quickly, and then I was probably going to get countercharged by the baby Carnosaur with the BSB on it. Now, BSB is obviously a valuable monster. It puts him in the line of fire for the trolls and all the demon prints. I was figuring he may even fail charge. It's not Swift Stride. It was a 5 or 6 on the dice charge, which is not automatic. So I get to pick up his skirmish poison skinks, which are a pain. And then he's putting BSB in harm's way. So I didn't mind taking that charge. I know James was trying to tempt me out and trying to tempt me into it, but I think it was a 50-50. It was going to take some good play or selling some models to mitigate the negatives of that charge. So yeah, I was reasonably happy with it. Chimera's, yeah, it's expensive at 400 points, but that's like a 700 point plus BSB dinosaur running at me. So yeah, I was okay with putting him in harm's way. So yeah, charged with the Chimera. I think I took 1 wound previously, so it's still pretty survivable. On from that, the Chaos Forsaken chopped through quite a few skinks, but they held Steadfast 8, so that's fine. Running through them, that's all good. The Chimera smashed the skinks in short order and then reforms to face, take a front charge from the big dinosaur. The Chaos Warriors and the Barbarians were staring down the throat of the big stompy dinosaur. I still didn't really know what to do with that. I knew I wanted to clear the skinks out of the way. I knew I didn't want to take that charge, and I didn't have enough chaff to keep him off me for very long. So yeah, James had I think a difficult decision here. I mean, it's very obvious to chuck in the big stompy dinosaur, but he doesn't want to lose his BSB, so he's not done enough damage to the trolls and the fireballs, or not done any damage to the trolls and the fireballs. I think he got unlucky with one which went off, and then he didn't cast a couple of times. So his decision is made. He puts in the stompy dinosaur, rolls the charge, hits the charge, and then he uses the most expensive chaff in 9th Age history, putting a unit of Cold Run Cav in front of the trolls. Without charging, they are going to die pretty quickly. James is well aware of that fact, but he doesn't want to flank charge with vomiting trolls into his dinosaur. On the other flank, pushes forward past the Forsaken, and the dinosaur combat. We were suddenly shocked. We were looking at it and we were like, oh yeah, Chimera will have 5 attacks. 7 attacks, fantastic. So he still fails to wound him. He gets 2 or 3 wounds on him, and I think it was a 5 no reroll break test, and he fails that and runs off. Doesn't get charged. It's Swift Stride in my favour. Oh, he had to take a wound, sorry. And yeah, he overruns far enough that he's out of charge arc for the Demon Prince, which is a bit of a shame, but in all honesty, I'm quite happy for the Demon Prince to be chugging away forward, going into those squishier units at the back. The Chimera fails to rally, runs, but not off the board. It's one of those funny pursuits where they're actually really close to the edge of the board, but they're just going to run almost to their baseline. It's actually quite a far run for the Chimera, so I get to try and rally again, or he gets to try and charge me off. I charged over the fence with the trolls into the cold ones, and on the other side, it was pretty interesting how this worked out. So I knew he'd flee from my charges with the skinks and allow the dinosaur to come in. I knew the only thing I was doing by charging the dinosaur was giving him an earlier defeat of my units. So what I did was I charged the BSB out of the units into his skinks. If he held, I then get to kill them and overrun, and I'm out of the charge arc of the stompy dinosaur, thus saving my BSB. If he flees, I've pushed all his units to the back of the board. So the small unit of camo skinks and the big unit of camo skinks have held in this situation, and right at the back of the board was the unit of normal skinks and the unit of Saurus. Now it looks like they're really close to the board edge, but they couldn't have gone off the board edge. It's just because they've bounced through units. The BSB, I was hoping either of them rolls short, and I'm running into them with the BSB and I'm out of the charge arc of the zombie dinosaur. As it goes, though, because they both flee a long way, I think it was a double 6 flee from the unit of skinks. I'm definitely failing charge. I'm definitely going to be stood out in front of the stompy dinosaur. I have a good look with the horseman, and there's no way I can get in the way to stop the charge. I am thinking that I'll just flee the charge with the BSB, but then I have possibly Russian blood to the head. But I think, well, my barbarians I'm not that enamored with. He's gonna destroy my champion on the first turn and win combat because of his multiple wounds. But I'm probably going to be worst 6 on a reroll, so I check in the barbarians. It's a reasonable charge, but yeah, they make it pretty comfortably, and they're in. So yeah, that was an interesting moment. I think it surprised James I did that. In hindsight, they're a scoring unit, and they probably would have been helpful to hold, and I'd probably been better off fleeing with my BSB through the horseman and trying to rally on the other side of him. Again, it would have been quite a long flee because of the angle of the flee. I'm basically running across the back of the board edge. He hasn't got an awful lot of the chaff units around to try and push me off the board. So, yeah, I don't know if that was a mistake, but yeah, we'll see how that pans out. The Hell Cannon does the one thing it does all game. The BSB stood out in the open. I think he's got a 5-up regen. I shoot, I hit, strength 7, toughness 6, I get through, pop the D3 wounds, and take off his BSB. Hellscream Cannon pays for itself in one easy move. Barbarians eventually, second round, they get destroyed by, I think it's got 10 attacks and a Thunderstomp, so they get chewed through pretty quickly. He's then looking at my warriors. He broke them and overran them. And my warriors are a different kettle of fish. They've got sword and board, so they get that parry. So they're not being hit on 3s. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s is great for the lizardmen. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that they'll stick around for a while. They've got a champion, so I was quite happy about the warriors. I thought they'd be 3 or 4 turns, holding up, not killing a 900-point model. So I was okay with that situation. On the other flank, the trolls do their thing. They vomit. I think the Wrath Priest with his flail smashed through a couple of cold ones, and they destroyed the unit for no wounds in return. Actually, I think there's one model left who subsequently breaks. He's out of BSB, obviously because he's dead, and general range. So yeah, he goes. The Demon Prince has charged over the top and into the Bastillodon. He's positioned to overrun into the unit of skinks with the priest in behind it. I'm pretty scared of the cannonball tail of the Bastillodon. The one strength 10 D3 wounds hit is, I know it's hitting on 5s, but it just scares me. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about that combat. The Chaos Spawn comes on behind. Lust Chaos Spawn seems a great thing to me. Re-rolling 3d6 move, random move, just brilliant. So it comes on the first turn, it moves 2d6 and acts like units are in passable terrain. So it bumps off the back of the unit, but yeah, that's pretty good. Happy with that. The Bastillodon misses with its 1 strength 10 hit. Gets chopped up pretty bad. No BSB, no leadership bubble, so it runs, and I overrun, catch it with the overrun, and smash into the skinks, which is going to be a fairly one-sided fight. Yeah, the Champion dies valiantly, takes the challenge, gets beaten up. I think I was 7 or 8 on a reroll. 7 on a reroll because of fear, so I stick around for that. The Forsaken finally chop through the last of the skinks. They run, I don't catch them, annoyingly. And I'm stood in the middle of a heap of poison shooting. So I think the numbers finally up, but they were a great unit. That movement 6 off light infantry is just awesome. And they fight really well too. And their Cortex. I can see me making a lot of Forsaken in my near future. Yeah, really like that unit. They're chaff, they fight, and they've got decent leadership. They've got a 4-up arm save, so that's pretty good. So yeah, they're a great unit. I was really pleased with those guys. The thing I feared happened. The sharpened horns smash into my trolls. Not a lot I could do about that. That's going to be one of those key rolls. Is the impact hit's going to do the damage? I've reformed from destroying the skinks and the skink priest. James makes a bit of a mistake. It was interesting, actually. It came up more than once in this game. Monstrous having 1 rank just makes such a difference in the game that previously you'd have 5 models stood looking at a monster and they'd be steadfast. Now 5 models no longer gives you steadfast, so yeah, broke those skinks pretty easily. They needed double 1s rather than 5 or 6, whatever a skink priest leadership is. So turn around looking at the back of the Saurus. James pops the 6 for the trolls. Again, I was left with 3 trolls. The monster breaks their steadfast. I would have held had I been steadfast, but break, get run down. And Stegodon's in my backfield. Looking at my Hellscream cannon, which is an interesting prospect. On the other flank, the Stompy Dinosaur. D3 wounds counts for nothing now, so I'm clearly pleased. He's got 9 or 10 attacks. I've got parry, so I'm thinking 5 wounds go through from the attacks. He's got to do 9 wounds to break my steadfast, even with his monstrous rank. So he's got to roll pretty well on his Thunderstomp. It's my view that he's going to do 4 or 5 wounds with his attacks, and then he's going to do 2 or 3 with his Thunderstomp, and everything will be okay. Obviously, he goes crazy. He rolls 9 out of 10 4-ups to hit, all of them wound, takes off 9 models, and then fails to wound with his Thunderstomp, just for irony's sake. Double 1 on a reroll. Actually got a 1 and a 2, but the unit breaks, gets run down by the Swift Stride Alpha Carnosaur, and the unit I thought would hold them up for 3 turns held them up for 2, and now I've got a problem. James, for a while, debated in this situation whether he runs my warriors down or whether and goes and threatens my BSB, or goes and threatens my BSB. So I was looking at it thinking, nah, it's a no-brainer. That's a lot of points in that Warriors unit, and my BSB can just flee. Yeah, he could bounce him back with his skinks, but even so, I think my BSB can survive that. I can put the Horsemen in such a way that I'm going to be okay. And the Warriors almost certainly are going to rally. They've got no negative leadership modifier. They've got probably 2 turns to run towards the board edge. So, yeah, I was pretty happy if James didn't pursue them, but he did, and he caught them, and a lot of points went down. So yeah, now the Demon Prince charged the Saurus, caught them, another easy chunk of points that was going begging, so that was good. My Horseman charged a unit of Camo Skinks in the flank, couldn't run because they'd go off the board, overran into a unit of Skinks, unfortunately counter charged by the Saurus. I knew it was going to happen, but I thought that would go okay. I forget how choppy Saurus are. The Saurus decimated that unit. Awful, terrible decision. Just threw away the Horsemen, really, and they would have been really useful. At this point, it's turn 6. I've got my BSB and my Horseman. He's got his Dinosaur looking at us. and we just bail out. Just go and stand next to the hill. I forget that there's a ton of poison shooting from the Stegodon, which took out, after me saying how tough the Hell Cannon was, I declared the charge down the hill with the Hell Cannon into the Stegodon, wanting to avoid the sharpened horns. I'm pretty tough. Yeah, he's pretty tough. I'm not likely to kill him, but I get to stand there and grind out the rest of the game. The stand and shoot from the poisoned blowpipe, which has done nothing all game, kept missing. Hits with a heap of poison attacks. I fail my innate save and my ward save. Takes off the Hell Cannon on the stand and shoot. A comedy moment. James thinks he can pop over the hill and take out my one last horseman, and he fails to do that on a not stand and shoot. So, you know, these are how the dice work. The Hell Cannon, the tough model, gets taken out while they're stand and shooting, and then he can't take out my last horseman, so he holds his 90 points. But yeah, disengaged for the last turn. James walked forward and held the central objective and posed with his dinosaur looking scary but doing actually nothing. And yeah, the game ended. So it was a really bloody game. I had 3 models, one of which was a barbarian horseman, left at the end of the game. I knew I'd taken out a lot of James's points, but I think the Hell Cannon throwing itself away was a problem. And yeah, just I had nothing that could engage his Alpha Carnosaur. D3 wounds means monsters can't go in. Thunderstomp means infantry aren't going in there and being very happy. Yeah, my trolls could probably have done something. Yeah, the Hell Cannon could have done something, but I just don't know how you deal with it. It's only got a 3-up arm save. The guy on the top can give it a regen with magic, which is pretty easily done. I think he had the regen on every single turn, but it was chewing through his own magic dice. He can put wounds back on it with that, and in the end, it's one of those models, because it doesn't fly, I think it's just stand stuff in the way, chaff it up, don't let it engage you, is the only option I can think of. Nasty model, to my mind, even though it killed only 2 units of infantry, which probably only just got its points back. It had such a big influence on that flank. I just couldn't engage it. If my Demon Prince goes in, it loses. If my BSB goes in, it loses. I think it reduces their save to a 6-up, and they just can't stand against the D3 wounds. So, a great game, really fun game. I hope it came through on the battle report, but that was one of the best games I've had. I think we're both at the phase where still the odd rule of 9th Age surprised us. Old Warhammer Fantasy Battle, we both knew the rules back to front. But yeah, it was a really fun game. The Dark Gods Warriors, I think they're a great book again. All of the options seem viable to a lesser or greater extent. I know I was saying the Barbarians with great weapons aren't good, but I think if you supported them with magic, if they were sword and board barbarians, they'd be great. But yeah, it was a really good learning experience for me. I think Warriors of the Dark Gods might be my army for a while. Dropping the Hellscream Cannon to another Chimera or a Fallen Beast would seem a good idea. Yeah, tweaking some of the kit seems a really good idea as well. But on the whole, really enjoyed the game, really fun, crazy moments all the way through. But yeah, it was good, really good game, really great game, 9th Age. Can't speak highly enough of it. But yep, comment below, email me through Warlock's Tower website, or get in touch on Twitter. All the contact details are on my website. So yeah, thanks for watching.